The Young and the Restless, YNR, spoilers for Friday, November 7th, reveal that Claire Newman, Haley Aaron, will face Kyle Abbott's Michael Mealer, questions about Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, while Victor Newman, Eric Braden, plots a secret move. For starters, Victor will do some plotting in Friday's episode. Now that Victor has the AI program in his possession, he'll be strategic about how he moves forward with using it. Victor will want to be sneaky about the power play that's brewing against his foes. Of course, Victor's focus will be going after the Abbotts, but other enemies could get targeted along the way. Regardless, Victor will keep some secrets about the first blow he intends to strike. Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, Diane Jenkins Abbott, Susan Walters, and Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, will have to deal with the fallout of Victor's actions soon enough. Kyle wants to help his family stand against Victor, but he'll take some time for a more personal matter on Friday's show. Thanks to Diane and Jack's nudge, Kyle will plan on flying back to Los Angeles and pouring his heart out to Claire there. However, Claire's already planning her return flight to Genoa City, so YNR's making it seem like they could miss each other. Fortunately, the Young and the Restless spoilers confirm Kyle will have a chance to quiz Claire on Friday, so their paths are going to collide after all. It won't be long until Kyle's questioning Claire about her visit to LA, which obviously included seeing a whole lot of Holden. Claire may seem uneasy and make some comments that lead Kyle to a tough realization. Will Kyle find out Claire got passionate with Holden during their time together? Claire might even admit Holden told her what really happened with Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, but she may not be willing to divulge that information to Kyle. Whatever the case, Claire may make it clear that she's not moving on with Holden, but she can't marry or live with Kyle like he wants either. Kyle is asking too much of Claire when she's not ready for that kind of commitment. Over with Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn. He'll push Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil, to her breaking point somehow. Lily will get fed up with Kane and blow up at him as a result, so he'll be discouraged over their latest setback. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Lily will have quite a meltdown, so stay tuned for updates on the difficult news ahead for Kane. The Genoa City air is thick with the scent of old secrets and fresh betrayals, a familiar perfume that signals another day of high-stakes drama. On this fateful Friday, November 7th, the fragile peace built on recent revelations is shattered as Claire Grace finds herself in the crosshairs of a determined Kyle Abbott, while the city's patriarch, Victor Newman, makes a clandestine move that could alter the fate of every family in town. The Abbott Mansion, a gilded cage of interrogation. The morning light streams through the grand windows of the Abbott Mansion, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air like the unsettled ghosts of the past. In the lavish living room, Claire Grace attempts to sip a cup of tea, her hand trembling so slightly that only the most observant eye would notice. That observant eye belongs to Kyle Abbott, who has been watching her like a hawk since she arrived under his roof. It's still hard to believe, isn't it? Kyle begins, his tone deceptively casual as he pours himself a coffee. After everything you're here. An Abbott. A part of the family. Claire offers a fragile smile. Every day I wake up and have to pinch myself. Your parents, my aunt and uncle, have been so incredibly kind. I don't know what I would have done without them. Kyle takes a seat opposite her, his gaze intense and unwavering. They have big hearts. Sometimes too big. They see the best in people, even when the evidence suggests they should be more cautious. The subtext hangs heavily between them. Claire sets her teacup down with a soft clink. Is there something you want to say to me, Kyle? You've been quiet around me all week. Kyle leans forward, his elbows on his knees. I've been thinking. Your story, it's incredible. A real Cinderella tale. Rescued from the clutches of a madwoman, reunited with your long-lost family, given a seat at the table of one of the most powerful dynasties in the state. It's the stuff of fairy tales. I'm well aware of how fortunate I am, Claire replies, her voice gaining a steely edge. And I know I have a lot to prove. Prove, Kyle echoes, latching onto the word. That's a good word. See, there's one part of your story that I keep getting stuck on. One name that keeps popping up that doesn't quite fit the narrative. He pauses for dramatic effect, letting the silence stretch. Holden. Claire's breath hitches almost imperceptibly, but her face remains a mask of calm confusion. Holden? I'm not sure I know who you mean.
Don't you?
Kyle's smile is thin and sharp. See, that's the thing. I've been doing some digging, cross-referencing the timelines from your time away with some of the corporate espionage issues we were having at Jabot. There were whispers, Claire. Whispers of a fixer, a ghost who knew how to manipulate data and people. His name was Holden. And your old mentor, Aunt Jordan, she had connections to all sorts of interesting people. Claire stands up, turning her back to him to look out the window. This is ridiculous. I don't know any Holden. Jordan kept me isolated. You know that. I know what you've told us, Kyle counters, standing as well. But what if you weren't as isolated as you claim? What if this Holden was your contact? Your handler? What if the entire rescue was just a more sophisticated way of infiltrating this family? Get close to the CEO and COO of Jabot by being their long-lost niece? It's genius, really. Claire spins around, her eyes flashing with a mixture of fear and fury. How dare you? After everything I've been through, you think this is some kind of long con? My mother is dead, Kyle. Jordan took her from me. Do you think I would use my own mother's memory as a pawn in some game? I think desperate people do desperate things, Kyle fires back, his voice low and cold. And I think you, Claire, have been desperate your entire life. So, I'm going to ask you one more time, and I want the truth. What is your connection to Holden? The standoff is electric, a battle of wills where the very foundation of Claire's newfound safety is at stake. She opens her mouth to speak, but whether it will be a denial, a confession, or a devastating counterattack remains to be seen. Kyle has thrown down the gauntlet, and the future of the Abbott family hinges on her next words. Across town, in his fortified study, Victor Newman stares at a single sheet of paper on his massive oak desk. It is a document so confidential that it was hand-delivered by a private courier who answers only to him. The door opens and Michael Baldwin slips in, his expression a blend of weariness and unwavering loyalty. You wanted to see me, Victor, Michael states, closing the door softly behind him. Victor doesn't look up. Michael, thank you for coming on such short notice. I need your legal opinion. And your discretion. When have I ever been anything but discreet? Michael replies, taking a seat. A rare, almost imperceptible smile touches Victor's lips. Precisely why you're here. He finally looks up, his piercing blue eyes boring into Michael. I've made a decision regarding the future of Newman Enterprises. Michael leans forward, intrigued. I thought the board had settled on a transitional structure with Victoria and Nick at the helm. The board, Victor scoffs, ratifies what I decide. And my decision is to ensure the company's survival for the next century, not just the next quarter. He slides the document across the desk. I am initiating Project Chimera. Michael picks up the paper, his eyes scanning the dense legal text. As he reads, his eyebrows climb higher and higher. Victor, this is unprecedented. You're creating a shadow trust? A holding company that would effectively control a controlling interest in Newman Enterprises, but its ownership and directives would be completely invisible to the SEC, the board, and even your own family? Especially my family, Victor says grimly. They are too emotional, too volatile. Victoria's judgment is clouded by her heart, Nick's by his misguided sense of nobility. They would run this company into the ground trying to be fair or ethical. Business is war, Michael. And in war, you need a single, undisputed general. And that general is you, Michael surmises, putting the document down as if it might burn him. Even from the grave. Precisely. The trust's bylaws are specific. They outline a succession of power that bypasses my children entirely. It appoints a sole executor whose identity is known only to me and, if you agree to draw up the final papers, you... Michael runs a hand through his hair, overwhelmed. Victor, the legal ramifications are a minefield. The challenges from your family alone will be handled, Victor interrupts, his voice leaving no room for argument. I am not asking for your moral judgment, Michael. I am asking if you can construct this in such a way that it is ironclad, unbreakable, and utterly untraceable. And who is the successor? Michael asks, his voice barely a whisper. Who will you trust with your life's work? Victor leans back in his leather chair, steepling his fingers. That, my old friend, is the one piece of information I will be taking with me to my grave.
For now.
So, what is your answer? Can you do it? Michael Baldwin, the man who has gotten Victor out of more legal and illegal jams than anyone, looks from the daunting document to the even more daunting man before him. He knows that saying yes makes him a co-conspirator in the greatest secret of Victor Newman's life. Saying no would make him an enemy. For Michael, there is only ever one choice when it comes to Victor. Society, alliances, and anxieties. The lunchtime crowd at Society provides no solace for the players in this high-stakes drama. At a corner table, Sally Spectre pushes a salad around her plate, her mind clearly elsewhere. You've been quiet, Adam Newman observes, taking a sip of his sparkling water. Just thinking about Claire, Sally admits, setting her fork down. Kyle has been intense. I'm worried he's going to push her too far. She's finally starting to find her footing. Adam's expression is unreadable. Kyle's Abbott. It's his nature to be suspicious. And let's be honest, Claire's backstory does have a few narrative holes. Don't you start too, Sally pleads. She needs allies, not more inquisitors. Meanwhile, at the bar, Victoria Newman nurses a glass of Chardonnay, her phone buzzing incessantly with messages from the office. She ignores them all, her thoughts consumed by her father. Nate Hastings slides onto the stool next to her. Tough day at the office? He asks gently. When is it not? Victoria sighs. It's my father. He's been quiet. Too quiet. And when Victor Newman is quiet, it usually means he's planning a hurricane. I just wish I knew what he was thinking. Nate places a comforting hand on her arm. You're the CEO, Victoria. You've earned your place. Whatever he's planning, he can't just undo that. Victoria gives him a sad, knowing smile. You really don't know my father, Nate. He can undo anything he wants. That's the problem. Their moment is interrupted by the arrival of Nick, his face like thunder. We need to talk, he says to Victoria, his gaze flickering briefly to Nate with clear disapproval. Alone. The Grand Phoenix, a secret rendezvous. In a secluded suite at the Grand Phoenix, a meeting is taking place that would send shockwaves through Genoa City if it were ever discovered. The room is dim, the curtains drawn. A figure stands by the window, back to the door. When the door opens and the visitor enters, the figure turns. It is Eve Howard, a woman from Victor's distant past, a corporate raider of legendary ruthlessness who vanished from the public eye years ago. Eve, Victor says, stepping into the light. Victor, she replies, a slow smile spreading across her still beautiful face. It's been a long time. Your message was intriguing. The situation requires a unique touch, Victor states, bypassing pleasantries. I have a proposition for you. A final, grand play. Eve gestures for him to continue. I'm listening. I've missed the game. I'm creating a new entity. A silent partner for Newman Enterprises. I need someone to manage the European assets, someone with a spine of steel who isn't afraid to get their hands dirty. Someone who answers only to me. Eve's eyes gleam with avaricious interest. And what would my compensation be for such a demanding role? Power, Eve, Victor says simply. The one currency we both understand. A seat at the table of the most powerful private company in the world, with none of the tedious publicity. You would be a ghost with a sledgehammer. Eve walks toward him, stopping just inches away. You've always known how to tempt me, Victor. Tell me more. As Victor begins to outline his vision, it becomes clear that Project Chimera is far more advanced and far more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. He isn't just securing his legacy, he is building an empire in the shadows, and he's recruiting the most formidable general he's ever known to help him command it. Friday, November 7th, a day of reckoning. As the sun sets on Genoa City, the pieces are in motion for a conflict that will redefine every relationship. Back at the Abbott mansion, Claire finally answers Kyle's question, her voice trembling but clear. I knew Holden. Briefly. He was one of Jordan's contacts. He gave me a phone, a way to contact the outside world, when I was planning my escape. I didn't tell anyone because I was ashamed. Ashamed that I needed his help, that I wasn't strong enough to get away on my own.
He's gone now, Kyle.
He was a means to an end. Nothing more. Kyle studies her, looking for the lie in her eyes. He wants to believe her, for his parents' sake, for the family's stability. But the seed of doubt has been planted, and it has taken root. And in his study, Victor Newman signs the preliminary documents for Project Chimera, his signature a bold, slashing stroke of black ink. He looks at a single, framed photograph on his desk, an old picture of his entire family, smiling, a united front. A front that has long since crumbled. It's for your own good, he murmurs to the empty room, the weight of his decisions settling on his shoulders like a crown of thorns. All of you. Friday, November 7th, ends not with a resolution, but with the calm before the storm. Claire's confession may have temporarily satisfied Kyle, but the ghost of Holden still lingers. And Victor's secret move has set a ticking clock in motion, a countdown to a corporate and familial war that will leave no one in Genoa City unscathed. The young may be restless, but the old are still dangerously, decisively, in control. The Young and the Restless, YNR, recap for Thursday, November 6th, reveals that Noah Newman, Lucas Adams, will hide a Sienna Bacall, Tamara Braun, make out memory after Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, threatens Matt Clark aka Mitch Bacall's, Roger Howarth, life. At the Shadow Room on Thursday's YNR episode, Sienna will stand between Nick and Mitch following Nick's punch. Mitch will play dumb, but Nick will be sick of the games and vow to kill Matt if he comes near his family or anyone he cares about. Once Nick storms out, Mitch will act like Nick is clearly crazy and that he belongs in an institution. Sienna won't buy that someone like Nick would deck Mitch without cause and will wonder if Mitch had another reason for taking Noah under his wing. Mitch will turn menacing at one point and push Sienna to drop this right now, but she won't know she's supposed to forget that Nick punched him and claimed her husband was someone else. Mitch will be more interested in the real connection between Noah and Sienna, but she'll act like it's nothing more than an innocent business relationship that Mitch pushed for. While Sienna once again pushes Mitch for the truth about what's going on with Nick, Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, will get updates from Nick back at the hospital. Nick will let Sharon know that he socked Matt in the jaw and threatened him, though he was still keeping up his Mitch act. Once Noah returns for more tests, he'll quiz Sharon and Nick about what they're keeping from him regarding his crash. Nick and Sharon will remain cagey until they get the doctor's approval on telling Noah what they know so far. Noah's bandages will also be removed, so fans will finally get their first full look at Lucas Adams' face in the role. Sharon will mention Ali Nigwin, Kelsey Wong, at one point, which will leave Noah with a strange expression. Despite Sharon's offer to get in touch with Ali and give her the latest news, Noah will insist on doing it himself. Noah will also face questions about the Shadow Room, Mitch, and Sienna. After Noah mentions that the Bacalls were helping out with the logistics of opening a new LA club, he'll learn Sienna called his phone. Sharon won't get why Noah didn't tell them that he'd made previous visits to Los Angeles, but he'll act like he wanted to be sure he could pull off a second club first. Noah will hear about his car running off the road near where Sienna and Mitch live. Since Noah was at the club that night, Nick and Sharon will be curious if he remembers anything. Noah will eventually have a memory flash of a heavy makeout session with Sienna at the club, where he was pushing her up against a wall as they kissed passionately. However, Noah will keep that memory to himself and leave Nick looking suspicious, like he knows his son is holding back. At the Abbott house, Kyle Abbott, Michael Mealer, will read a sweet text reply from Claire Newman, Haley Aaron, to Harrison Abbott, Redding Munsell, before taking the kid off to play hockey with Connor Newman, Judah Mackey. That'll give Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, and Diane Jenkins Abbott, Susan Walters, a chance to talk in private. Diane will convince Jack that it was a mistake to summon Kyle home when his heart is clearly still with Claire in LA. Later, Jack and Diane will push Kyle to make a return trip to Los Angeles right away. It'll take some convincing, but Kyle will ultimately agree to go fight for love and will head upstairs to pack a bag ahead of his flight. While Kyle prepares to head back to LA, Claire will be preparing to return to Genoa City. However, Claire will have some time before her plane takes off, so she'll catch up with Victoria Newman, Amelia Heinley, at the hotel cafe. That's where Claire will admit she might have gone a little too wild, but she won't have any regrets about the choices she made during this LA experience. Even so, Claire will admit she's learned some things about Holden and hint about not wanting to live on the edge like him. It'll be clear that Holden isn't the guy for Claire at this point in her life, so Victoria will wonder about Kyle. Claire won't think she can give Kyle the commitment of marriage and living together that he's looking for right now. Victoria will encourage Claire to be honest with Kyle, so that's what she'll plan to do once she heads back to GC. Before Claire can leave the cafe, Holden will pop up and admit he's decided to return to Genoa City, too. Holden will assume they're on the same flight and will want to go to the airport with Claire, so she'll seem a little uncomfortable after her realization that he's not really her speed. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Claire's love life may remain messy for a while, so stay tuned. The air in Genoa City was thick with the scent of brewing coffee, expensive perfume, and simmering secrets on this fateful Thursday. In a town built on shifting alliances and buried truths, the day unfolded as a masterclass in deception and desperate protection, where a father's love turned lethal and a son's fragile recovery hinged on a single, hidden memory. A kiss and a crisis. Noah's fragile peace. The serene, sun-dappled interior of the Newman Ranch felt like a lie. To any observer, Noah Newman was the picture of a man savoring a quiet morning, but the slight tremor in his hand as he lifted his coffee mug told a different story. His mother, Victoria, watched him with the hypervigilant eyes of a she-wolf, searching for any crack in the carefully constructed calm he'd maintained since his return from the clutches of Ashlyn Locke and his subsequent ordeal. "You seem good today, Noah." "Really good," Victoria said, her voice deliberately light. "I feel good," Noah replied, the words a well-rehearsed mantra. Just taking it one day at a time, focusing on the present. And for a moment it seemed true. But the present is a fragile dam against the past. The trigger was innocuous, a song drifting from the smart speaker, a soft, melodic indie track he hadn't heard in years. As the first few chords filled the room, Noah's affable smile froze. His eyes lost their focus, staring past the polished granite countertops and into a ghostly recollection, the scent of cheap beer and expensive cologne. The thrumming bass of a college party, a world away from the quiet dignity of Genoa City. And her, Sienna. Her laugh, bright and unburdened. Her hand, warm and trusting in his. They were in a dim hallway, surrounded by the muffled sounds of celebration, but in their bubble, it was just the two of them. He leaned in, his heart pounding with a youthful fervor he thought he'd forgotten. The kiss was soft at first, then passionate, a moment of pure, unscripted joy. It was a perfect memory. But in Noah's mind, perfection was a landmine. He jolted back to the present as if electrocuted, his coffee mug clattering loudly into the sink. Victoria was at his side in an instant. "Noah? What is it? What's wrong?" Her voice was sharp with alarm. He blinked, his breathing ragged. The image of Sienna's smiling face was seared behind his eyelids, a beautiful, terrifying ghost. He couldn't tell his mother about this. He couldn't tell anyone. In the complex, treacherous landscape of his recovered memories, good moments were often the most dangerous. They were the bait that led the mind down darker paths, to memories he had worked for years in therapy to suppress. Remembering Sienna, that specific, happy night, felt like pulling on a loose thread that could unravel his entire sanity. "Nothing. It's nothing," he insisted, forcing a shaky smile and turning on the